the 2021 NFL quarterback draft class. Let's see how these guys are doing here. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we had 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 3 picks. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. Then we have Justin Fields and Mac Jones. Mac Jones, who ended up making the Pro Bowl last year and had a really good season under Josh McDaniels. McDaniels is gone now, and Mac Jones did not look good against the Patriots yesterday. I mean, against the Jets yesterday, despite winning that game. That run game that the Patriots have going is really hard to stop, and it kind of doesn't matter who's behind center at that point. But all 5 of those guys, man, not looking good, even though I thought Justin Fields did pretty well yesterday against the Dallas Cowboys, but he still has some processing stuff and head-scratching decisions that don't make sense to me. But I
think that's basically a thematic consistency through all
of them.
Even though I think
Justin Fields' athleticism of all of those guys is so legit. He runs. People still don't fully understand how good of an athlete Justin Fields is. I mean, I know he looks like he's made chiseled out of stone. I mean, to be an athlete, that's kind of the way that he's built. He could probably play basketball or baseball and have a lot of success as well. But that still sticks out to me, and that would be exciting to me as an offensive coordinator if I was working on one of these teams. But the rest of those guys,
227. I mean, he's bricked up. He's so strong and
so
fast.
Strong. But the thing about the rest of them is that I've been defending Zach Wilson. I've been defending Trevor Lawrence, and I thought that he looked good to start this year, and his arm strength looked better. The way that the ball was coming out of his hands looked prettier. He has a strong arm. He has touch, but he makes some really dumb decisions a handful, if not more times, every single game. I mean, in the Giants game last week, he just threw it to one of our secondary players just straight there. And there was no one in the area. I mean, shocking given the hype that he got going into the draft, which I did not buy, but I still thought he'd be a very good pro, and thus far it's not clicking.
I'm still pretty bullish on Lawrence. I think that I just think like the poise in the pocket, the best throws that he has are like absolutely unbelievable throws. Like I think it might have been week 3 or 4. I'm not remembering which, but he had this throw in the back of the end zone on the left side to Marvin Jones that was just like literally like you couldn't have placed it more perfectly. Like there was over a defender, like it was nuts to watch. But then, like you said, then in a bad weather game, he has 4 fumbles. Actually 5, he recovered one. And then even 2 weeks ago, he struggled to, with ball security and with like kind of making some head scratching decisions, like you said, and not looking nearly as good as he did the first 3 weeks. And then when he was playing against the Giants, I'm still hopeful for him, but I think it's tough because we saw what it could look. We saw what the apex, or at least what the ceiling was in these 8 weeks of like a really quarterback friendly offense via Doug Peterson could do for him, and it's now I think more concerning that's not continuing to develop. If anything, he's regressing.
Oh yeah, well,
it's seeming to get less easy for him as the season goes on.
He was talked about as the next Peyton Manning. All right, let's be real about this. He has nowhere close to the mental processing ability, and
that's a hard bar to reach.
Totally, but that was the high. I mean, this is what I hate about the draft is that the Mel Kiper and draft analysts decide, oh, this is the guy.
You look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, right. And it's all based on college winning performance for the most part. I mean, they didn't hype up Patrick Mahomes in the same way because he went to Texas Tech, or, it's a lot of it's based on if you're playing in the SEC and if you're successful in the SEC or the Big Ten, and then you get the draft hype. And I always thought it was disproportionate with Trevor Lawrence. That Clemson team was stacked, and he looks good. I thought he'd be a good pro. I did not ever think he was going to be a Peyton Manning-like superstar, and frankly, that's showing right now. He needs to be managed a little bit. There are just, as I said, 5-6 throws a game where it's completely off target and usually overthrown with when he's out of timing, he doesn't see secondary players who are, going for the ball, and it's created some turnovers for him.
And I think that's the big thing, though, is that the touch, like you said, the touch of the ball is there, the footwork is there, which is honestly, coming from a Jets fan, one of the hardest things to get right early. The processing speed and the consistently right decision making needs to just follow that. If the few traits that he has that I think are genuinely like excellent to elite level almost can be followed by some of the ones where it just seems like he's not making the connection there, like with processing, with reading routes, with reading coverages, I think he could be really great. It's clear that certain skills are exceeding others.
Yeah.
That certain ones are not matching or equalizing with others there.
I'm not writing him off at all, and I'm still not writing Zach Wilson off. I'm sorry to say, but I know that might be. I've basically written Trey Lance off.
I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, we've barely seen the guy play. It's so hard to even have an evaluation.
But like that
might be the problem.
That's the defense, and it's a bad defense in my opinion, because I know it's tough, right? It's tough that he hasn't played, but they knew that when they drafted him 3rd overall and traded up for him, that he barely played at North Dakota State. So that also is a part of a player, that they have the experience to understand what coverages are being called, and an ability to understand how defenses work and how to command an offense. And it's not just the mental stuff with Trey Lance that bothers me. It's the way his throwing looks. His throwing by far is the worst of all of those guys in the first round: Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. All 4 of those guys are way ahead. I think if Justin Fields went to the 49ers, they would be a much more dynamic offense than they are with Trey Lance and Mac. But then Mac is like a better version of Jimmy Garoppolo, and it seemed like,
he's not nearly as explosive. Like, you're not getting explosive plays from Mac.
I mean, I'm sorry. Like,
but Justin Fields, I think
Justin Fields is a more dynamic athlete than Trey Lance. He looks way better running the football. Trey Lance is stiff.
But imagine the RPO diet that, like, Shanahan would be giving Justin Fields. Like in terms of, easy routes for him to clock, most likely. I mean, because as we've said before, the Nick Mullins defense, at least for me, there are few more quarterback-friendly offenses in the league than Kyle Shanahan's.
Yeah.
And then giving him all of the run options, the run packages that are his bread and butter, like that make it so that, basically a potted plant can start at behind center in the backfield for Kyle Shanahan and get maybe 800 yards a season. Like, it's tantalizing to me to think of what it could have been if they had chosen Fields and not Lance.
It would be the same kind of concept that they're trying to run with RPOs and just a dominant rushing attack where you're able to control possession and get chunk plays through the run game, but with a better player who has more experience in a system that, again, it's all a mix, right? I'm never going to be the person that says, oh, just take Bryce Young over Will Levis because of the college team that they're on. In fact, I think Will Levis might be the best quarterback in this draft class. As of now, that's how I feel. But if you are trying to win now and you do want a quarterback that has that athletic upside, to me, I just am talking myself more into it. Justin Fields would have been the pick there, but we are kind of looking backwards. I understand that. Point is, Mac Jones, maybe he can get it together. This system, this offensive system is not friendly to him. He seems disgruntled about it, understandably so, being run by 2 guys that have never run an offensive system before, in Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. But of all of those guys, based on expectation and based on what they have to work with, maybe Justin Fields is the best of the bunch right now. Is that crazy to say? And perhaps it's recency bias because he's looked really bad in the first, you know, 4 weeks of the season, and he looked a lot better against the Cowboys and in the game before that against the Vikings, right?
Right. Let me just double check their schedule, but he's definitely looked. I think he's certainly been improving essentially basically every week. I feel like he's honestly just been getting.
Oh no, it was the Patriots.
Right. So the Pats and then the Cowboys.
Commanders and the
yesterday.
Vikings, and
Yeah.
he looked very good in the Patriots game, and he looked pretty good in the Cowboys game too.
I would still hold out for Lawrence as being the best potentially because as you said, I don't think either of us are giving up on him, but I just think the ceiling is higher for Lawrence right now, just given the scheme that he's in. Like, I just don't trust like Matt Eberflus as like the guy to unlock
Right.
Justin Fields' offensive potential, whereas I think Doug Peterson can still be the guy, at least for now, to get Lawrence to be kind of one of the better versions of himself. I think he would probably really benefit from a slightly more like younger, newer age offensive coach. Not like a Cliff Kingsbury or anything like that. I mean like a Chiefs style coach or like a Dable style coach. But I certainly think now, given what we've seen this season from Zach Wilson, what we haven't seen from Trey Lance, as well as what we've seen from Mac, I would definitely say Fields is second.